All right. So it's June. We are in the month of June, which comes after May. Um, which, well, May was Mental Health Awareness Month, and June is, and amongst other things, June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. I might share more this month on, I don't know, being a man and dealing with mental illness, but I don't know. I'll see how motivated I feel to do that. If you are a man and you've never experienced some sort of prejudice or stigma against mental health because you're a man, I think that you are very blessed and lucky. In today's day and age, in 2021, I think we've definitely made some progress, but I'm just primarily thinking about my childhood upbringing and not knowing that I was an anxious kid, not understanding, where do I even begin? Growing up, for me, as a boy, growing up being taught how to be a man, I guess, that's the term that's used when you're younger, especially growing up in the 2000s. I'm 28, so you can do the math yourself. That when the going gets tough, you get going. I've always been an emotional man, and that was always something I was deeply ashamed of. The fact that I felt everything to a deeper degree, as best I can understand it, has always been something to be ashamed of than something to be proud of, I guess. I'm not a sporty guy. I'm more of an arts guy, I guess. I love music, and I love art, and I love nature, and things of that sort. And so growing up, those things were always effeminate and not encouraged, especially in the culture that I grew up in. And so I really struggled to feel masculine enough or to feel boyish enough growing up, because I wasn't as into sports, because sports gave me so much anxiety. My parents enrolled me in all these sports, and I hated it constantly, and I hated the anxiety it gave me. And not knowing that, I didn't know that was anxiety at that age. I didn't, you don't know these things. I only just started to realize or to accept that anxiety is a mental illness for me 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or 23, 22, and then only have I now enrolled myself into therapy, and I'm taking medication for anxiety and for depression at 28, and I know that there are many men who are much older and have not even begun the process, because I think men just have this mentality of sticking it through, or just to shy away from any help. There's a lot of pride in manhood, which is ultimately just toxic. And I say that because my father has only recently begun therapy and medication in the recent years, and he's obviously much older than I am. So if that says anything about just masculinity across the board, or manhood across the board, then we've got a lot to worry about. So it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I want to speak to that. I've always shied away from mental health and mental health, especially coming from a religious background, I just had this idea, like, you know, hey, if you were like God will heal you, like, you know, God will be with you, God will like take you through it, you know, as a Christian. And as great and as true as those are for me as a person of faith, kind of like bad theology, because in a sense it's like ignoring the common grace in medicine. So I falsely believed in the stigmas of mental health and mental illness because I didn't want to use those as an excuse to be a crappy person. And that's like so backwards, because you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that, especially if you seek help the right way, especially if you seek therapy and all, you know, professional help for mental health the right way. Then, you know, then you won't use it as a crutch per se, or you won't use it as an excuse to be a crappy person, because you genuinely want to be a better person. So why would you continue to act crappy or use those as a scapegoat for how crappy you are when you're ultimately trying to be better? So, I mean, hey, there's definitely no shame in therapy and medication. Therapy is good for everybody. I mean, there's just so much that I'm learning in therapy that I wish I knew as like when I was like at the highest points of my life, how much of that could have helped me from so much, from processing so much, from emotion. But you know, better late than never. So yeah, I've got a couple other thoughts, but I think I'll save those for another video. But if there's one thought like I could leave you with when it comes to being a male and thinking about mental health, I mean, there's this like example that I can think of that's kind of pushing me through right now, and that is be the kind of man that you wish was there for your younger self. You know, I didn't have like very many positive male influences growing up. It's very close to my mom, and yeah, just thinking about it, I wish I could have had that male figure in my life growing up to like tell me it's okay to have these feelings, or to go through this in life, or, you know, to cry, or to struggle in this way. It doesn't make you any less of a man. And that's kind of just what I've been thinking about, like who I want to be today. I've messed up in so many ways over the last, you know, 5-10 years, so many ways. And moving forward, being in therapy, being on Lexapro, I want to be that type of man who I would look up to as a teenager, as a kid, that I could feel safe around, that I could trust to, you know, to lead me into like through life, through the messiness of life. So I feel very confident in that, in being in therapy, being on medication. I feel for the first time in my life equipped and surrounded by support groups that believe me and that are for me, for healing, for restoration, for reconciliation, for being that healthy individual that's not enslaved by addiction or compulsions or so many bad habits that just ultimately just, you know, aren't good for you. And so yeah, I'm excited about life moving forward, and I'm excited about advocating for mental health for everybody, but for, you know, for men folk in general. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Might take a couple more this month just to talk about mental health in men in general. But you know, if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.